Rochester, New York, November 16, 1971. The afternoon was fading into dusk as motorists traveled along Interstate 490, heading home through the cold of late autumn. Several drivers would later tell police that they had seen something disturbing near the road. A young girl was running beside the highway. She appeared frightened. She was waving her arms, trying to attract attention, while a car moved behind her. The motorists continued driving. Some later said they had been traveling too quickly to stop. Others said they were in a hurry to get home. The girl was 10-year-old Carmen Colón. 2 days later, Carmen was found dead in a rural area southwest of Rochester. No one had stopped in time to learn who had been inside the car or how the child had reached the highway. At first, her killing appeared to be a terrible but isolated crime. Then, 17 months later, another Rochester girl disappeared. Her name was Wanda Walkowicz. 7 months after that, a third girl vanished. Her name was Michelle Maenza. Carmen Colón, Wanda Walkowicz, Michelle Maenza. Each girl's first and last names began with the same letter. Their bodies were found outside Rochester, near places whose names appeared to repeat those initials. Carmen near Churchville, Wanda in Webster, and Michelle in Macedon. Newspapers began calling them the double initial murders, or the alphabet murders. But behind that memorable name was a far more complicated investigation. No one was convicted. No suspect was conclusively connected to all three crimes. New York State Police now state that the cases have never been officially linked, although all three remain open. More than half a century later, the central question is not simply who committed the alphabet murders. It is whether there was ever one alphabet murderer at all. The three disappearances occurred between November 1971 and November 1973. Each began during an ordinary part of a child's day. One girl went to collect medicine, another was returning from a grocery store, the third was walking toward a shopping plaza after leaving school. They disappeared from different parts of Rochester, but all three were only 10 or 11 years old. Each was alone when she was last reliably seen, and investigators believed that a car was involved in taking each child away from the city. The recovery sites stretched across different jurisdictions. Carmen was found in the town of Riga in Monroe County, near the village of Churchville. Wanda was found at a roadside rest area in Webster. Michelle was found in Macedon, across the county line in Wayne County. That geography required several law enforcement agencies to examine different pieces of what the public increasingly regarded as a single mystery. However, the famous alphabetical pattern was never as precise as it was sometimes presented. Carmen's body was not found within a municipality officially named Churchville. It was recovered in the town of Riga, near Churchville. The letter C connection depended on using the nearby village as the identifying location. This distinction would later matter because the nickname encouraged the public to imagine a killer deliberately arranging names and locations. Investigators, however, still had to determine whether the letters represented planning, coincidence, or something imposed on the cases after the crimes had occurred. Carmen Colón was 10 years old and lived with her grandparents in Rochester. On November 16, 1971, she was sent to a neighborhood pharmacy on West Main Street to collect a prescription for her grandfather. The journey was only a few blocks. Carmen reached the pharmacy, but the medicine was not ready. Accounts from the investigation indicate that she left the store instead of waiting. What happened immediately afterward has never been established with certainty. A witness reportedly saw Carmen enter a vehicle parked near the pharmacy. Investigators had to consider an important question. Had she been forced into the car, persuaded to enter it, or approached by someone she already knew? Approximately an hour later, motorists on Interstate 490 reported seeing a distressed young girl near the highway. A vehicle was close behind her. The incident was brief. Traffic continued moving. No motorist obtained the driver's identity or a complete license plate number. Carmen's family reported her missing that evening. Police searches began, but the most important witness accounts came only after it was too late to intervene. On November 18th, 2 days after Carmen disappeared, Her body was discovered beside a rural road in the town of Riga, near Churchville. Investigators determined that she had been assaulted and strangled. The location was miles from the pharmacy, where she had last been seen. The circumstances produced immediate public anger. A child had apparently escaped from a car long enough to reach a major highway, yet the person responsible had managed to take control of her again. The investigation expanded rapidly. Police interviewed people in Carmen's neighborhood, traced vehicles that might have resembled the one witnesses described, and examined members of her social and family circle. A male relative came under intense scrutiny. He was questioned but never charged. Later investigators continued to debate his possible involvement, while Carmen's family maintained that he was innocent. The legal record remains clear. No relative, acquaintance, or stranger was ever prosecuted for Carmen's killing. Local newspapers offered rewards for information. Businesses and residents added donations until the total reached approximately $6,000, a substantial amount at the time. In early 1972, 5 large roadside billboards appeared around Rochester. They displayed Carmen's photograph and a direct question: "Do you know who Carmen Colón?" The billboards provided a confidential telephone number and asked witnesses to come forward. They generated tips, but none produced an arrest. Carmen's case slowly moved out of the daily headlines. Her killer had not been identified, but there was not yet enough evidence to prove Rochester was facing a series of connected crimes. For 17 months, Carmen's death remained a single unsolved murder. Then another child failed to return from a neighborhood errand. Wanda Walkowicz was 11 years old. On April 2, 1973, her mother sent her to a nearby grocery store on Rochester's east side. At approximately 5:15 that afternoon, Wanda completed the errand and began walking home carrying the items she had purchased. She never arrived. When Wanda did not return, her family contacted police. Officers and detectives searched the streets around her home, the store, and areas where she was known to spend time. Witnesses confirmed that she had reached the shop. Some remembered seeing her walking with the grocery bag. Reports also emerged of a girl near a stopped vehicle, but the information was not sufficient to identify the driver. The following morning, April 3rd, a New York State trooper was patrolling a rest area beside State Route 104 in Webster, roughly 15 miles from Wanda's neighborhood. At approximately 10:15, the trooper discovered Wanda's body near the bottom of an embankment. She had been assaulted and strangled with a ligature. The discovery changed the meaning of Carmen's case. Wanda Walkowicz had disappeared from Rochester. She had been taken away in a vehicle and found beside a road outside the city. Her initials were WW. The town was Webster. Reporters immediately noticed the repetition. Carmen Colón had been found near Churchville. Now Wanda Walkowicz had been found in Webster. For investigators, the letters were only one part of the evidence. More important were the ages of the victims, the roadside locations, the apparent use of a car, and the method of death. Yet there were also differences. The available medical findings suggested that Carmen had been strangled from the front, while Wanda had been strangled from behind with a ligature. Carmen had apparently struggled near a busy highway. Wanda's movements after leaving the grocery store remained far less visible. Those distinctions raised a possibility that would never entirely disappear. Carmen's killer might not have been the person who killed Wanda. Publicly, however, the fear of a connected offender was growing. Parents began reconsidering whether their children should walk alone, even for short neighborhood errands. Families whose children had matching initials felt particularly alarmed, although police had not established that the girls had actually been selected because of their names. Wanda's murder produced searches, interviews, and appeals for information. But again, there was no arrest. 7 months passed. On November 26, 1973, 11-year-old Michelle Maenza attended school in Rochester. Accounts from the period indicate that Michelle had become upset during the school day and visited the nurse's office. She was later seen walking alone toward a shopping plaza near the school. Investigators believed she intended to retrieve a purse that her mother had left at a store. At approximately 3:20 in the afternoon, classmates saw Michelle walking away from the school area. Soon afterward, a witness reported seeing a girl resembling Michelle in the passenger seat of a beige or tan automobile. The girl appeared to be crying. Another possible sighting came from outside Rochester. A motorist traveling near Route 350 in Walworth encountered a man beside a large light-colored car that appeared to have a flat tire. A young girl was with him. The motorist later believed the child might have been Michelle. The account offered investigators a possible description of the man and vehicle, but it did not provide a license plate or a confirmed identity. Other witnesses reported seeing a girl resembling Michelle with a man at a fast food restaurant in Penfield. These sightings suggested that the person responsible may have kept Michelle with him for some time and traveled through several communities east of Rochester. Police and volunteers searched for her. On November 28th, 2 days after she disappeared, Michelle's body was found beside a rural road in Macedon, approximately 15 miles east of Rochester. She had been sectioned and strangled with a ligature. The location appeared to complete the pattern. Michelle Maenza, Macedon. Carmen Colón near Churchville. Wanda Walkowicz in Webster. 3 children. 3 repeated initials. 3 recovery locations that appeared to begin with the same letters as their names. This time, investigators had several witness accounts describing a man and a vehicle. A composite image was prepared and circulated. Police established new telephone lines for information. Rewards were offered. Investigators examined hundreds of names and compared statements from people across Rochester, Monroe County, and Wayne County. But witness memories differed. Vehicle descriptions were general enough to fit many cars on American roads in 1973. No physical clue publicly identified the man in the composite drawing. The third murder transformed the investigation into a national story. The letters made the case unforgettable. They did not make it easier to solve. Once Michelle was found, the idea of one calculating offender seemed almost impossible to ignore. Yet a striking pattern is not the same as proof. To deliberately select the girls because of their initials, an offender would first have needed to know their full names. He would then have needed to find them alone and move their bodies to locations beginning with the correct letters. That would suggest preparation, surveillance, and an unusual interest in word patterns. Investigators could not prove any of those things. It was also possible that the offender chose vulnerable children encountered alone, and that the matching initials were coincidental. The location pattern was similarly uncertain. Webster and Macedon were the actual areas where Wanda and Michelle were found. Carmen's body, however, was officially recovered in the town of Riga, although Churchville was the nearby community most frequently associated with the site. The cases also contained forensic differences. Some investigators and later researchers have argued that the similarities between Wanda and Michelle are stronger than the similarities between either of those cases and Carmen's murder. Wanda and Michelle were both 11. Both disappeared in 1973 while walking alone. Both were found fully clothed beside roads outside Rochester. Both had been strangled from behind with a ligature. Carmen's circumstances were different. She was 10, disappeared in 1971, and was reportedly strangled manually from the front. Witnesses may have seen her attempting to escape on the highway. Investigators also considered whether she had entered a car belonging to someone she recognized. These distinctions have led some law enforcement officials and researchers to suspect that Wanda and Michelle may have shared a killer while Carmen's case may have been separate. Others continue to believe that the overall pattern is too unusual to dismiss. New York State Police use especially careful language. Their public cold case record states that the 3 homicides were dubbed the alphabet murders by the media, but that the cases have not been officially connected. That means the phrase alphabet killer describes a theory. It does not describe a person whose existence has been legally or forensically proved. Over the decades, investigators examined hundreds of possible suspects. Some were local men with histories of offenses against children. Others became suspects only after being convicted of murders elsewhere. One of the most widely discussed was Kenneth Bianchi. Bianchi was raised in Rochester and later moved to California. There, he and his cousin Angelo Buono were convicted in connection with murders commonly known as the Hillside Strangler case. Because Bianchi had lived in Rochester during the Alphabet murder period and had reportedly worked as an ice cream vendor, investigators reviewed his movements. He denied committing the Rochester crimes. A palm print associated with Michelle's case reportedly did not match him. He was never charged with any of the 3 murders, and no publicly established forensic evidence has connected him to Carmen, Wanda, or Michelle. Another name emerged decades later, Joseph Naso. Naso was also connected to Rochester and was convicted in California in 2013 of murdering 4 women. The first and last names of those women also began with matching letters. One of Naso's California victims was an adult woman named Carmen Colón, an extraordinary coincidence that attracted immediate attention. Investigators compared Naso's DNA with surviving evidence from Wanda's case. It did not match. According to a Monroe County cold case official quoted in 2025, that DNA result ruled Naso out as Wanda's killer. The result did not identify who killed Wanda and did not resolve the separate cases of Carmen and Michelle. Other suspected men were investigated, questioned, or compared against evidence. In one instance, investigators exhumed the remains of a deceased suspect to obtain a DNA sample. No comparison produced the evidence required to file murder charges. This history is important because a suspect can appear convincing when selected facts are viewed together. A man may have lived nearby, owned a similar car, committed later crimes, or behaved suspiciously. But suspicion is not a conviction. No court has found anyone guilty of killing Carmen Colón, Wanda Walkowicz, or Michelle Maenza. The investigation began decades before modern DNA profiling, nationwide digital databases, mobile phone records, automated license plate readers, and genetic genealogy. Evidence had to be collected, stored, and interpreted using the methods available in the early 1970s. Witnesses could describe a car, but they could not photograph it with a telephone. Investigators could circulate a composite drawing, but they could not instantly compare it with national driving license databases. A child could disappear from a city street, and hours might pass before her description reached every neighboring police agency. The 3 recovery sites also crossed jurisdictional boundaries, meaning that Rochester Police, county authorities, New York State Police, and agencies in Wayne County each held responsibilities connected with different parts of the investigation. The publicity created another problem. The more famous the alphabet theory became, the more tips arrived from people attempting to connect acquaintances, relatives, or strangers to the crimes. Investigators had to separate useful information from rumors, mistaken memories, and accusations based only on someone's initials, vehicle, or personality. Reports indicate that hundreds of potential suspects were investigated. None produced a complete evidentiary chain linking one person to the disappearances, the vehicles, the recovery sites, and the surviving forensic evidence. Modern testing has eliminated some suspects, but it has not produced a publicly confirmed match. Evidence from Wanda's case remains particularly important because investigators have said that usable biological material survived. Samples associated with the other cases were reportedly lost, consumed, or rendered unusable before current DNA technology existed. That leaves investigators with unequal opportunities. A future DNA development might identify Wanda's killer. It might still be unable, by itself, to prove who killed Carmen or Michelle. Public attention often focused on the repeated letters. For the families, there was nothing abstract about the crimes. Carmen, Wanda, and Michelle were children who left home expecting to return within a short time. Their relatives endured searches, funerals, public speculation, and years in which new suspects repeatedly raised hopes before evidence failed to produce charges. In 1995, Carmen's mother, Guillermina Colón, spoke publicly about what she wanted most before her own death. It was not money or recognition. She wanted to know who had killed her daughter, and to know that the person had been held responsible. Wanda's surviving relatives continued encouraging the use of DNA technology in unsolved cases. Anniversaries brought renewed requests for information, but they also required the families to relive the most painful days of their childhoods. Michelle's family faced the same unanswered question that had followed Carmen's relatives since 1971. Had someone nearby known more than they admitted? Cold cases are often described as mysteries. For families, they are unfinished events. The Alphabet murders changed how generations of Rochester residents remembered the early 1970s. The cases became part of local history, revived through newspaper investigations, television documentaries, books, and periodic cold case appeals. But some retellings have made the alphabetical pattern sound more certain than the evidence allows. There is no proof that the girls were selected because of their names. There is no proof that one person killed all three. There is also no proof that the similarities were merely accidental. What can be stated with confidence is narrower and more disturbing. 3 girls disappeared from Rochester while they were alone. Each was transported outside her neighborhood. Each was sexually assaulted and strangled. Each was found near a roadway. No person has been convicted of any of the murders. Investigators must still answer several separate questions. Who approached Carmen outside the pharmacy? Who was inside the vehicle that motorists saw near Interstate 490? Who intercepted Wanda while she carried groceries home? Was the girl seen beside a disabled car near Route 350 really Michelle? Did Wanda and Michelle encounter the same man? Was Carmen's murder connected to either of the later crimes? And were the repeated initials an intentional signature or a coincidence that gave 3 unresolved investigations one unforgettable name? The latest public position remains cautious. The cases are open. They are not officially connected. The killer, or killers, remain unidentified. For more than 50 years, the story has been remembered through 3 sets of matching initials: CC, WWMM. But the families have never needed another clever pattern. They have needed one thing the investigation has still not provided: a verified name.